Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the New Haven Independent Vlog News Summary direct from our newsroom, otherwise known as my Compost Heap. Let's see what stories we're working on this week. Here's the police scanner. There's a crime in progress. Check this out. Somewhere in New Haven, there's a city employee who, on her own hours after work, is talking to a reporter without calling the mayor for permission. And listen to what she's saying. She's talking about a senior center that's being closed in New Haven. And she says it's, quote, very sad. Quote, that place is so full of love. Oh my God, you can't let people run around and say things like that, freedom of speech, and in fact City Hall's not. This week a woman who said that, Sharon Bishop, works for the city, works at the senior center being closed, West River. She said those very quotes to the New Haven Independent, and she got a letter saying she's being fired because you're not allowed to make such comments to the press without getting approval first from the mayor's office. Now there were other reasons this woman's being fired, and it's going to be contested. But the reason that this was allowed to be used as a basis is because the city has a media policy that we all fought, but they went through anyway, that is reminiscent of Richard Nixon and is draconian beyond anything we've ever seen, which is 5,000 people work for the city, and if they bump into a reporter and they say, oh yeah, that number on that chart there was supposed to be a 2, or I had a sandwich for lunch, they could be fired. Now you might think that's funny and who would ever do that, but we saw this week how it's misused, and the chilling effect I have seen it had throughout the city, and how dangerous that is for the public as well, because then you don't have debate, you don't have discussion, you don't have information being exchanged, and the public's right to know. Now, people were critical from City Hall about the article The Independent did this week about this firing, because there were many reasons that the city was citing to fire this employee. But here is our point. Why were we making the story the policy? Because the policy is the big issue. A, we can't afford lawsuits, and by having an unconstitutional and arbitrary policy like this, the city is inviting itself to more costly lawsuits like it's been losing, which are raising our taxes. Because there are plenty of people. Stetson Library is going to close, and there are people working there and other city employees who are in the paper saying this is terrible, we're going to organize people to fight it, and it's good they did it. We want that. They didn't get fired because there's no political agenda there. So a supervisor screwed up by writing a letter saying we're going to fire you partly for this idea. But she won't be the last one to screw up, because when you have an evil policy in place like that is so open to abuse, it will continue to come back to bite you. So the real issue is, if City Hall doesn't change this policy, we're all going to be suffering for it, and then most of all because we're not backing down. What other stories are we working on? We got some lemon juice here because it's time to start making some lemonade if you live in the Edgewood Whaley neighborhood, because the neighbors there organized to stop the closing of their police substation, which is a foundation of community policing. Now this is a great story, folks, because this is the way democracy should work. The neighborhood cared about it, the cops cared about it, the city responded, but they had financial pressures. So they came up with a compromise that Alderwoman Liz McCormick helped forge that saved that substation but still was responsible. The city threw in a little more money, the landlord lowered the rent, and the neighbors are going out raising the money however they can to make up the difference. It's not ideal, but that was a good sign about our healthy civic democracy. Now, as they always say, when are we going to start seeing the Pentagon start holding a bake sale? Well, that's another question. Here's a fire extinguisher, and Alderman George Perez also deserves some kudos this week, Democracy at Work, for putting out a fire partly. Now we have a season of budget cuts, emergency budget cuts that are spreading pain all around. And this budget's about to be approved, and they're going to be closing senior centers, they're going to be cutting back library hours, they're going to be ending a popular and a successful reading readiness program, and they were going to be cutting homeless services at $500,000, which probably meant that no adult males were going to have homeless services and all the problems that would cause. Thursday night, Alderman George Perez found a way to at least put $150,000 back in the homeless budget. And he did it by taking it from the out-of-control overtime at the fire department. Now, this was good for a number of reasons. A, George Perez has a political constituency at the fire department, and he was willing to show the political courage to use that capital to do the right thing. Secondly, we have a bigger problem with management in the city, not just at the fire department, the police department, other places, where it's not just that you might need more money to address problems, but it needs to be spent better. We all know that for years and years, no one's even looked at why 500 Board of Ed administrators earn between $100,000 and $150,000 a year, including their benefits. What they actually do, could that money be spent better? We don't even know because no one asked. Fire department, they're apparently still using pencils to keep track of overtime. There's no systems in place. So the bigger question is, can the fire department be managed better rather than just having a new emergency expenditure halfway through the year for that overtime? But way to go, George, and let's see some other progress in that area. Also this week, Bill Dyson stepped down. Now he's stepping down. He's been a state representative since 1976. And he is just the man who shows that you can have intelligence, integrity, compassion, and independence in public life. We wish him well in his next venture, which he's going to try in a private arena nonprofit to deal with the prison reentry problems in our criminal injustice system. Way to go, Bill. Thank you for your years of service, and I hope you're an inspiration for whoever emerges from the free-for-all to succeed you. Until next week, this is the New Haven Independent Vlog News Summary, and remember, always pick up your trash.